Have you ever stopped to think about what's actually holding our world together? I mean, what's really preventing it all from just descending into total chaos? It's definitely not just luck. There's this complex, often invisible set of rules, a kind of world order that shapes how countries deal with each other. But here's the catch. What if not everyone is playing by the same rulebook?
So let's really dig into that. We kind of take it for granted that there's some kind of global system keeping a lid on things. But what is that system made of? Is it a set of laws, a shared morality, or something else entirely?
You hear that phrase all the time, right? The international community. It makes you picture this one big, unified family of nations, all nodding in agreement on the basic rules of the road. It's a comforting thought for sure, but it might just be a total myth. The truth is way, way messier. Our world is a collection of vastly different histories and cultures, and each one came up with its own idea of what order even looks like. We're not talking about small disagreements here. These are fundamentally different ways of seeing the world.
So in this explainer, we're going to peel back the layers of that myth. We're going to explore the clashing visions of world order that have shaped our history and are still driving conflict today. Let's kick things off with the system that basically became the default setting for the modern world. This is the Westphalian system. And the crazy thing is, it wasn't born from some grand optimistic vision of global harmony. Nope. It was forged in the absolute hellfire of one of the most destructive wars in European history. Okay, so for centuries, Europe was just tearing itself apart in religious wars. After 30 solid years of unimaginable brutality, the continent was just exhausted. So the Peace of Westphalia wasn't about building a perfect world. It was a brutally practical fix designed simply to stop everyone from killing each other. It was order born out of pure necessity.
And the core idea powering this new system was something the French called raison d'etat, which literally means the reason of the state. The guy who really championed this was France's Cardinal Richelieu, and his concept was radical. A state's #1 priority, its highest moral duty, is its own survival. Everything else comes second.
You have to appreciate the logic here, because it's a brilliant paradox. Richelieu was a cardinal, right? His day job was all about saving immortal souls for the afterlife. But as a statesman, he argued that the state itself isn't immortal. It can die. Its salvation has to be secured right here on Earth, now or never, and by any means necessary. So the key takeaway is that this way of thinking created a whole new set of rules. Suddenly, the state is the main building block of the world. Each state is totally sovereign inside its own borders. Nobody else gets to interfere. And the goal wasn't one massive empire ruling everything, but a very fragile balance of power between a bunch of legally equal states. But, and this is a huge but, this whole Westphalian idea of equal competing states, that's a European invention. It is not the only game in town. Other major civilizations came up with totally different concepts of order, and they were much more hierarchical. They didn't see a world of equals. They saw a pyramid, with them sitting right at the top. And this is where you can really see that fundamental clash of worldviews. While the Westphalian system is all about a horizontal balance of power, these other models are vertical. They're about order flowing down from a single center, whether that's a universal emperor or a single faith, with a really clear hierarchy of who's in and who's out. Let's take the traditional Chinese worldview, which is often called Sinocentric. In this system, there's only one legitimate ruler on Earth, the emperor, the son of heaven. Order isn't about balancing power. It's achieved when all other peoples recognize his cultural supremacy and come to pay tribute. It was less about conquering people with armies and more about awing them into what was seen as a natural, harmonious order. Now, the traditional Islamic concept of order is also universal, but it's defined by faith. It basically sees the world divided into two houses. You have Dar al-Islam, the realm of Islam, which is the land of peace under Islamic law. And then you have Dar al-Harb, the realm of war, which is everywhere else that still needs to be brought into the system. The ultimate, divine mission is to expand that realm of peace until it covers all of humanity. So, with all that on the table, where does the United States fit in? Well, this is where it gets really interesting, because America is unique. It operates as a Westphalian state, respecting sovereignty and balance of power. But at the exact same time, it has this deeply held belief in its own universal mission for the world.
Yeah, this idea of being a city upon a hill goes right back to its founding. The whole point of the American project wasn't just to create a new nation for Americans. It was meant to be a beacon for the whole world,
a shining example of what liberty and democracy could look like.
And that, right there, is the central tension in all of American foreign policy, a debate that has raged for centuries. Should America lead by the power of its example, or by the example of its power?
One answer is realism, and Teddy Roosevelt summed it up perfectly. This view says America has to be a strong, pragmatic player in the great game of nations. You protect your interests, you maintain stability through strength, and you keep the global balance of power. It's a very Westphalian way of thinking.
But the other answer is idealism, championed by someone like Woodrow Wilson. This vision says America's role is to go out and actively spread its values, because true lasting peace is only possible when the whole world is full of democracies. That's a universal missionary idea.
And this is the American paradox in a nutshell. Is the main goal to maintain the balance of power in the world as it is, or is the goal to transform the world into what it could be? Throughout its history, America has swung wildly between these two poles, and often it's tried to do both at the very same time. So what happens when all these ancient rulebooks collide with each other in the 21st century? Well, you can see it playing out in real time. Just look at the South China Sea. That's a cynocentric view of historical territory crashing right into the Westphalian principle of sovereign borders. It makes you wonder, can any of these old models handle the challenges of our modern world? Seriously, think about it. Nuclear weapons can obliterate any idea of a balance of power. Groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS operate completely outside the state system. They don't care about those rules. And the internet just dissolves borders, making the whole concept of national sovereignty feel kinda quaint. These forces are shaking the very foundations of every single one of these old models of order.
And there's maybe a deeper, more subtle challenge, too. In this age of constant connectivity and social media pressure, it might be getting harder and harder for leaders to develop the kind of long-term perspective and personal courage needed for true statesmanship. You know, the kind of wisdom that built these orders in the first place. Which leaves us with the ultimate question. In a world where all these fundamentally different rulebooks are crashing into each other, and where new technologies are rewriting the rules of the game entirely, is it even possible to build a common order that everyone can actually agree on? Or are we just stuck in an era of permanent conflict? The answer, whatever it is going to define our future.